Good evening. Welcome to the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. It is day 5 for us here at what we affectionately call TIGBRAD. It is Purpose and Passion Day, and one of my favorite topics. And I waffled back and forth about what to read. So I went between a couple of books that I thought would serve the purpose, no pun intended, serve the purpose for today. And so our selection I'll announce here in a few minutes. And I just want to remind you that you are watching the International Great Black Read Aloud Day 2022. And we are here giving voice to words written by Black people all around the world. And we are in partnership with Fresh Book Festivals because we believe that literacy is a legacy, and we want to increase literacy across the African diaspora by bringing good books before you and helping you to reach out beyond your comfort zone in your typical reading and see all the wonderful things that we as Black people write about. We write about everything. There is nary a genre out there that we haven't contributed to um, and made such wonderful strides in. So, today for Purpose and Passion, our selection is Fatal Distractions by Joyce L. Rodgers. The title of the book is Fatal Distractions: Uncover the Roadblocks That Keep You from Fulfilling Your Destiny. And I'm going to read from a portion of the chapter titled 1 Minute Before Midnight. Joyce L. Rodgers was an evangelist, and she transitioned last year. And if you ever had a chance to hear her, she was quite a powerhouse packed into that little body of hers. But this is from her book, Fatal Distractions. And this is a selection, 1 Minute Before Midnight. Satan has always been a subtle deceiver, but now in these last days, he has renewed his assault. Even as we women move to higher levels in our spiritual walk, there are new challenges to be faced. Reaching new levels in God does not come easily. It does not come without a price tag. It does not come without a struggle. As we go higher and higher in God, Satan will mount strategic attacks to bring us down. Each level of our upward progression will be marked by another attempt to pull us off course. Have you ever heard the phrase, new devils for new levels? As we go higher in the things of God, deeper into his word, closer to his will, and nearer to his heart, Satan's strategy gets stepped up too. The enemy is specific. He is focus driven. He is obsessed with achieving his objective. He is relentless. He is ruthless, and he will go to any length to achieve his goal. He is cruel in his pursuit. Satan's overall objective is to pull us away from the God plan that has been laid out for each of our lives, the purpose for which and to which we have been called before the foundation of the world, according to Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4. The critical waiting period. I see this God plan for our lives as a clear roadmap that God has laid out for each of us. Although the plan is designed specifically for each one, the road signs are the same for all, clearly marked speed signs and warnings of hazardous conditions to help us as we journey to the place of the fulfillment of God's purpose in our lives. There is a critical period of time between the pronouncement of God's blessing on our lives and the manifestation of that blessing. But in that critical time of waiting for the fulfillment of the purpose, Satan's attack against us most often becomes the most intense. And I'm going to stop here and pause and remind you to subscribe to our website. That is at greatblackreadaloud.org. And we're reading aloud, and we want to invite you to read aloud with us. Our schedule is up on our website. It's also posted on our page and our Instagram page as well. So we want to invite you to read aloud with us, okay? Our selection for today for purpose and passion is Fatal Distractions by Joyce L. Rodgers. I will continue. But in that critical time of waiting for the fulfillment of the purpose, Satan's attack against us often becomes the most intense. He becomes frantic and frenzied in his activity. His purpose is to distract us from the imminent fulfillment of God's promise. If he can get our focus on the circumstances instead of on the certainty of God's word, then even after waiting through the long night, we can miss the blessing with just 1 minute to go. Women, our critical waiting period is almost over. The time is 11:59 p.m., 1 minute before midnight. When Paul and Silas were in prison for their faith, their feet were bound in stocks and their hands were chained. They were in the stronghold, the inner section of the prison. See Acts chapter 16, verses 16 through 40. There was no chance of escape. But at 11:59 p.m., Paul and Silas began a praise and worship service in that dungeon that began to shift the stronghold. Praise God. The word midnight in its most frequently used sense means the darkest point of the night, the darkest moment possible. However, in another sense, as in this case, the term midnight represents a turning point in a negative situation. The word midnight represented the moment of deliverance for Paul and Silas. For at midnight, the angel of the Lord shook the foundations of the prison where Paul and Silas were bound, and their chains fell off, according to Acts 16:26. Midnight to the Christian with the right perspective means an imminent breakthrough. Midnight means a new beginning, for a new day officially begins at 12 midnight. Remember, 11:59 p.m., 1 minute before midnight, signifies the time between the pronouncement of the blessing and the manifestation of that blessing. But ironically, even though it is the moment that is closest to the end of our waiting period, this is the time when we are most vulnerable to fatal distractions. We are most susceptible just before the moment of blessing. Abraham and Sarah are good examples of 1 minute before midnight syndrome. God had called Abram out of the land of Ur of the Chaldees and made a sevenfold covenant with him, Genesis 12. God later reconfirmed his covenant by changing Abram's name to Abraham in Genesis 17. The word Abraham means the father of many. Abraham was to be the father of many nations. God promised him a son in his old age, who was to be the child of promise. But after many years of waiting, when the night of promise seemed very long and the chances of having a child seemed slim, Sarah became impatient and gave Hagar, her servant, to Abraham, her husband, to bear him a son in her stead. Weary of waiting, Abraham and Sarah thought they would help God fulfill his promise. But the son produced by their impatience has caused more trouble than blessing for generations. Can you imagine the conversation between God and Abraham when Abraham confessed what he had done? Can you hear Abraham telling God that the night of waiting for the blessing had been too long? Surely Abraham brought up the fact that it was almost midnight in his life. He was at least 100 years old, and his wife Sarah was 99. But God's answer defied rational thought. Your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. Genesis 17, chapter 17, verses 19 through 21. Paraphrased by the author. When we look at the crisis of the Middle East, where the descendants of Ishmael and Isaac are at war even until today, we can see that Sarah's distraction from God's plan was a fatal distraction that has reverberated through the corridors of time for more than 3,000 years, causing untold heartache and bloodshed. Fatal distractions. Let's look at the definitions of some key terms as I will use them throughout this book. First, the word fatal means to cause death, to bring ruin, deadly. It implies a process by which death is induced. There are many definitions of the verb distract, from which the word distraction is derived. To distract can mean to draw or direct one's attention in different directions at the same time, to stir up or confuse with conflicting emotions or motives. Most of us think of to distract in this way, but few of us realize that it can also mean to be maddened or deranged in mind, mentally confused or troubled. By putting these two words together, fatal and distraction, a terrifying truth begins to emerge. If we allow Satan to distract us, we can be drawn or turned away from our spiritual position, our preordained destination, or even our purpose in God's kingdom. We can turn aside from God's vision and turn instead to another direction where we die to our purpose and our ministry is brought to ruin. Such is the fate of the victims of fatal distractions. A fatal distraction is anything that deters you from the growth and development of your faith. It is anything or anyone who may impede the development, growth, readiness, and expectation of your faith. The enemy does not want you to grow in faith. Satan knows that if you have just a little faith, even the potency of a grain of mustard seed, you can move a mountain, according to Matthew 17 and 20. Just imagine what one woman could do with a seed of faith. Women are powerful incubators. We can take the seed of a man, and in 9 months, we can produce a child. Imagine what an army of warring women with the seeds of faith could do against the strongholds of the enemy. Satan understands this, and he doesn't want us to increase our faith, exercise our faith, and walk in faith. He doesn't want us to speak faith over the dead things in our lives. He doesn't want us to believe in faith, pray in faith, and talk in faith. But most of all, he doesn't want us to live in faith. What does Satan do to prevent our living in faith? He sends distractions, and when we are unwise, uninformed, or unaware, they can become fatal distractions. I have read from you from our selection today, Fatal Distractions by Joyce L. Rodgers, for our day, which is Purpose and Passion, day 5 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And we are super excited about all that is occurring here at TIGBRAD. This is what we call it, TIGBRAD 2022. As you know, we were on quite a hiatus, somewhat unplanned, but we are back and we are hoping for a wonderful year of reading. We have many opportunities and days throughout the year for you to join us. We want you to join us in the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. Tomorrow is day 6, and we are going to show you what that looks like. And I'm gonna make sure I got my help here. Tomorrow is day 6, and it is Memoir Day. So the International Great Black Read Aloud. I'm sorry about that. Let's go back and let's take that off so you can see it. How about that? Tomorrow is Memoir Day. So if you have a selection of a wonderful memoir you would like to share with us here at TIGBRAD and people all around the world, do so. We invite you to join us tomorrow for day 6 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. My name is LD Robinson, and I am the founder of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And we want to remind you that our reading is for educational purposes. We are sharing with the world literature and giving voice to words written by Black people all around the world. And it is education at its core, to show all the beautiful things that come through the written word. And so we invite you to subscribe to the Great Black Read Aloud and stay abreast of all that is going on. And we will see you tomorrow for day 6 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. Tomorrow is Memoir Day. And so I believe we'll have a wonderful selection tomorrow. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.